Hi, welcome to WiseCat. So today I'm here and I'm about to upgrade my Moodle. What? I hear the duck. The duck is coming. Here comes the duck. And what's he got to say? He's got a good tip for us today. A good rubber ducky's wing tip of the day. What? Well, I thought we were doing upgrades today. What gives, duck? Oh, back up your site. Do it, he says. Oh, and test those backups. Make sure I can restore my Moodle from the hole. Okay, that's a good idea. And in some of my videos, I have actually neglected to address this. So, yeah, why not? Today is as good a time as ever. So, let's address today the things that you need to back up. Now, there are actually three parts of a Moodle that you need to back up to have your Moodle completely, fully backed up and ready to go. So one is the Moodle code itself, which is in the www folder on the ones that I usually do. The Moodle data directory, which is where all the user data and the more unique stuff to your site actually gets stored. And the last one is the SQL database. Now, they're listed here 1, 2, 3, but actually the SQL database is probably the most important because it's the most irreplaceable component. If you don't have SQL database backups, you're asking for trouble. I've seen a few comments on my YouTube videos actually saying, oh, so do I need to do a backup before I do this update or upgrade? Yes, you do. You will never hear the words out of my lips saying that you don't, because you always do. You always need another backup. You, right now, yes, I'm talking to you. Yes, you need to go and make yourself another backup, right? Geez, I wish I didn't have that backup. Said no admin ever. Right? So you always want to have another backup. I actually have my Moodles that I run. Basically, they're backed up on several different disks in several different locations around the world. And I mean, even the backup I've got right here on my table in front of me is in a RAID array with 5 hard drives. It's not going to be, that's the small one. Right? So seriously, back up your Moodle. Back it up now. Okay, so I'm going to let's get these rules these things out of the way. And let's go to our Moodle. Well, actually, the backup does not necessarily have to happen inside the Moodle. Although inside Moodle, if you open up your Moodle, there is a type of backup that is very, very much something I would recommend you do. And that is to do your course backups, which, wow, this is old. This is the classic view. Oh, wow. I'd forgotten that I'd left this in classic view. Anyway, this Moodle here, if you go into the site administration courses, you can set the course backups, automated backups, scheduled backups that happen once a week and everything. That'll take an MBZ backup file of each of your courses. This is not the kind of backup that we're talking about today. Today's backup, and actually I will get to that, I promise. In a future video, I'll be talking all about those backups and also how you can make those backups readily available to your site admin using the repositories and things like that, which is makes them even more useful. But for today, we're actually not talking about this kind of backup. We're talking about the backup for the entire site. So the three things that we need, we don't actually get from inside of the Moodle. What we do need to do is go to our terminal, and so here I have my terminal coming up. And I might actually just do this. Yeah, this layout's not too bad. I'll leave Rubber Ducky's wingtip of the day up there because, yeah, Rubber Ducky's absolutely right. We do need another backup. You can never have enough backups. Okay, so I'm actually here in my /srv directory, and if I look in here, grab ls-l, you can see I've got this 3 directory, and if I cd into the 3 directory, this is where you have 2 out of those 3 components I was telling you about before. So I've got my www folder here. This is where the Moodle code is stored. And I've got this Moodle data directory here, which is, that's where the, so if a student, let's say a student uploads their assignment, that's where the assignment gets saved, is in this Moodle data directory. You might figure as well, there isn't that much point in backing up the www directory. And as I say, it's the most okay to lose one. And there are a few essential files in the www directory, but I mean, like config.php. But apart from config.php, everything else is, you can just get it again. So that's although listed in my 1, 2, 3, it's number 1. It's also the most irrelevant. Moodle data directory is much more important because that's your students' created data or your teachers' created data. That data is all stored in the Moodle data directory. All their files, everything they ever uploaded, every PDF, every sound file or anything, they all went into there. So if you don't back that up, you can't just download yourself another copy. You can download yourself another copy of the Moodle code, but the Moodle data directory, well, that is essential stuff. So we need to back this up. A simple way to back this sort of thing up is to use the tarball command, which is just tar. This is a historical thing, stands for tape archive, but is very useful. And we used a few switches for this. We're going to create, so we're going to use C for create. We're going to zip it up because, hey, why not? Let's zip it up and give it a little bit more, give it a not waste disk space, and we're going to specify the file name. So let's say www backup .tar.gz, and that's because the Z switch here actually is using a type of zip that is based on gzip, so that tar.gz just says, okay, we're going to make a tar, which is originally stood for tape archive back in the day when people used to store their backups on tapes. And the gz there is just the gzip thing, referring to this switch that we said we're going to zip it up that way. There is another one like xz, and it's apparently makes your files even smaller, but it also comes at the cost of it takes forever to complete. So if you're doing an archive, like end of year backup, you might want to use that one so that you can have a smaller file, but it takes a long time to complete. So this one here, I'm just going to do this right now, and that is backing up my www directory. And the Moodle directories, this one actually is it's on my 3 server, which means I've already, I would expect, I don't know, 500 megabytes or so. Let's see what comes out. Waiting. I mean, in this particular Moodle, probably the Moodle data directory is even smaller. Usually you probably have, after, if your Moodle's been running for any amount of time, you're going to have the Moodle data directory is going to be a bit bigger. So I'm going to do ls-lh, let's see, 500 megabytes, 516 megabytes. So 500 megabytes was not a bad estimate, okay? So that's my www folder backed up. Okay, I also want to do the exact same thing with my Moodle data. Moodle data, so I will change the name Moodle data, and I'm going to definitely make the name of that file moodledata.tar.gz. So I've got my two things like this. Now you might actually find things like this happen exiting with failure status due to previous errors. And this is because, and it has actually completed here, but there are a few files that didn't actually go in. If you look through the files that you've actually got there, and they're all session files like these, don't worry about them. Session files are just the files that actually hold the login information for current logins or something like that. If you really get worried about that, if that makes you nervous, what you can do is inside of Moodle, you can flick over the setting. Let's see. you can flick over a setting that actually makes the session information, it's a bit off topic, but session information, actually it's too off topic, I don't remember where it is, but it's inside administration. If you're in Boost, you can search for it, but you'll have session information is stored in the database instead of as files. And that will stop these files from being generated, I believe, and yeah, you don't run into these errors anymore. Or you could just give yourself read permissions to these files, but they're actually pretty useless because they don't actually do anything that we need. So these ones we can not worry about. In addition, if you see a whole bunch of cache files or something like that with a permission denied, they probably won't be permission denied, but cache files are also something that we don't really need. C-A-C-H-E, cache files are not that necessary. Anyway, in that respect, we've got our two backup files there. Now, if I just remove both of those, right? I've just made them, but I'm going to remove them both because there's another trick that I'd like to show you because it makes it even. rm star.gz. GZ's gone. All right. I'll just do ls-l, and there are my two directories, but I can go one more down. If I go one more directory down, I've actually got this 3 directory is in here, right? So you can see here I've got this 3 directory that I have access to as well. And if I back up this 3 directory, I'll actually have done both of those in one fell swoop, and I'll be keeping them together. See, one of the problems that you can encounter when you're restoring from a backup is, wait a minute, this backup, the date does not actually match the backup, the date on this one. So it is a good idea, if possible, to keep them together. And on smaller servers, generally you can. So for example, I can go here and I can say, okay, instead of backing these two up separately, I can just go back to my tar command there and say, okay, I want to back up the 3. I want to back up to the 3 file, and I'm going to back up the 3 directory. And that'll back up everything in one hit. Right? So I won't, I'll just get one 525 or so megabyte file. Instead of putting it here, because actually I don't have write access to this particular directory. You can see it's root, and I do not. I'm an other. And I don't feel like doing, I could sudo it, but I don't feel like it. So I'm just going to put it in my home directory. Okay. So there you go. That is doing a backup of the Moodle data directory and the WW files and keeping those together so that they'll all be in the same place. And it's putting it in my home directory, which is, not too bad as well. When you're backing up the www data directory, another thing to be a little bit careful of is there can sometimes be config.php permission denied. That one would be a problem because that's the most valuable file in there that you actually want. Woohoo! My sessions files were all ignored again. I don't really care. But if I go back to my home directory now, I can see in there, I've got, here's my normal bash files and stuff like that, but this is the one I'm interested in here, 528 megabytes, and it's 3.tar.gz. Okay, so once you've created your backup file as well, a really important step of this process is, like Rubber Ducky says, sorry, I'm pointing in the wrong direction, back it up and make sure you can restore your Moodle from the backup. So that means make sure that you can get those files out again. And so we're going to do another tar argument here. And this time we're going to say xzf. Oh, by the way, this tar is a funky command. It's a weird one for historical reasons. You can have the dash in front of the switches, or you can leave it out if you like. I tend to prefer to enter it. I know it's not necessary, but I don't know. It just feels naked without it. So I put the dash in front of it. Anyway, we're going to just expand our 3.tar.gz file now, and that's what that is. Instead of before, this switch here was CZF, so C is for create a tape archive, and X is for extract from the tar archive. So boom, I hit that, and that's extracting now, and that'll make a new directory called 3 in my home directory there, right beside where the 3.tar.gz is. If I hit LL again, and boom, you can see there's my directory here, and everything inside should otherwise be pretty much the same. If we go in, have a bit of a look, there we have it, Moodle data and www. Okay, so that's pretty much all you need to know for a file backup in here. But if I go in, one more thing I'm just going to mention here. If I cd www, let's say, and we do an LL in here. Let's see. Can you see it? Can you see what I'm concerned about now? What I'm about to say, be careful of. And you can see in here is my config.php, and all of my other files are all in here. Did you notice it? One of the things that Tape Archive can do is it'll change all the file ownership to the person who's running the command. So at the moment, you can see Adam here. Pretty much it's going to have read permissions all the way through. So the www directory is not something that you usually have to worry about, except just to make sure that config.php is definitely not writable by the external web, because that's a security no-no. But what you do want to worry about is, if we go back down a level, and Moodle data, that's not going to be writable by my web server. And so in order to actually have this writable by the web server, I am going to have to change the permissions again. And so I might just do a sudo change ownership 33:33, because that's the www data. You can just do www data if you want, and Moodle data. Also, if you want to do this in one fell swoop, the capital R switch means recurse through all the directories, and that'll take care of file permissions. So now if I go LL, you can see now www data is the owner of the Moodle data directory, as it should be. And if I cd Moodle data, do it again, you can see all the other files inside are also read-write access by the www data user, which is who we want to be able to access this folder. Right? www, whether you change permissions on www depends on whether you enjoy installing plugins through the graphic user interface of the website or not. I have been known to enjoy that myself, so sure. But I'm not going to tell you that you have to, because usually you don't. You can leave that as long as the web server can read www. It doesn't need any more permissions there. There is one other permission that is needed on directories, and that is the execute permission, which on a directory means enter. It means you can access that directory. Anyway, so that's going to be the end of this part 1 about backing up your site. So to just go over what we've basically covered here, if I go back to my black screen, and here, so we have done numbers 1 and 2 here. We have backed up the Moodle code, and we've backed up the Moodle data directory. Now, in my future videos, hopefully I'll make these videos tonight, but anyway, the future ones are going to focus on SQL database backups. They're going to need to be split into a couple of others, because SQL databases is, well, first of all, it's the most important type of backup that you need to do. And the second thing is that it depends on if you're using MySQL or MariaDB or PostgreSQL. The technique for I mean, they're all very similar, but the techniques for changing them are slightly different. So I'll try to get those videos as well up to you real soon. And until then, please be careful and back up like your life depends on it, because your Moodle's life does. And if you don't, you make the duck angry. Okay, catch you later. Good night.